A lot of the comments under my Kirby reactions has led me to this very video about Magolor. There's still a ton of Kirby characters that I haven't really done a deep dive on, so we'll start from here. I'm not really too sure what to expect from this video, but because it's more of a deep dive, I'm assuming we're going to focus solely on Magolor and what his whole deal was, because from all the other videos, it was mostly just a short overview of his role within the game that he was introduced in. But of course, knowing Kirby lore, it's probably going to go super hard, so let's just get right into this. Well, actually, before that though, make sure to go support the OG video. Link to that is always at the very top of the description, as always.
Hey guys, it's me Meteor, and welcome to another edition of What is Kirby Canon? Today we're going to be talking about Magolor and the Master Crown. Magolor makes his first appearance in Return to Dreamland, crashing straight on a pop star from another dimension. Left with no other options, Magolor would attempt to enlist Kirby and his friends by playing the role of a helpless victim.
Playing the role of a helpless victim. Once again, tricking Kirby. But fundamentally, the tricking of Kirby here is different from Mark's tricking Kirby. I think it has to do with the intent behind it, because Mark's is just kind of a piece of shit, like pretty much. Whereas for Magolor, I forget exactly what his ideas were to get the Master Crown, to become all-powerful, because I think he was the one who introduced the concept of the, ancient civilization, right?
Even more, to avoid raising suspicion, he even shifts the focus away from him to other so-called threats, such as the Sphere-Doomers and Landia, the latter of which was responsible for shooting down his ship in the first place. Of course, Landia had several good reasons for doing so, all of which were unknown to the group at the time. First off, despite what he would have us believe for over 11 years, Halcondra wasn't even his home to begin with. The only reason he was there at all was because he heard the place was a veritable paradise of mysterious magic and unknown technology.
Okay.
One item that truly caught his interest he read about in a book, the Master Crown, the exact one Landia was wearing. Also, being as Landia is literally a guardian of ancient artifacts, taking it wouldn't exactly be an easy task.
Yeah, no kidding. Also, it being a dragon does make a whole lot of sense. The classic dragon guarding the treasure kind of thing.
Second, the ship Landia shot down, the Lord Starcutter, wasn't even his own ship. He stole it from the same volcano Landia dwelled, and was planning to attack the dragon with it. This plan could be yet another reason for his defeat against it. Why? Well, the Lord Starcutter isn't just some random ship. It is a legendary creation made by the Ancients, the same ones responsible for the Clockwork Stars, Star Rod, and probably most of the artifacts seen in the series.
Wait, the details on this are a little bit foggy for me, but wasn't this the ship that they use in order to cross through space and time pretty much to get to here? And we know where that ancient civilization originated from when we get to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, so I wouldn't really expect it to be a battleship. It definitely seems a whole lot more like an ark.
The Lord Starcutter is one of the few with a mind of its own. Even more, when you look at its EX description, it states that it felt something was off about Magolor from the beginning, and possibly wanted to be stopped. Therefore, it likely withheld its true power and allowed itself to be defeated. Whatever the case may be, the point is, Magolor was unsuccessful in his goal and retreated to Popstar. You see, falling into this planet and meeting up with Kirby wasn't just some happy accident. Truth is, he heard about Kirby from at least one other person, someone he was even good friends with. For this reason, Magolor knew there would be a good chance Kirby would agree to help. As for which friend he is referring to, while never confirmed, the most likely candidate would be Mark's.
Fucking Mark's. Look at him. Look at his smug-ass smile. Don't trust this guy. Don't trust him with your life. If you feed him a few snackos, he might help you, but we'll see.
Magolor does state that some he knew were defeated by Kirby, and considering how similar the plan was to Marx's in Milky Way Wishes, it only makes sense. I mean, both characters had knowledge of and attempted to use the power of the ancients in some form. It would honestly be surprising if he wasn't referring to Marx, especially considering how often Hal draws them together in official artwork. This is of course assuming Magolor wasn't lying about that too for 11 years. I don't even know what to believe anymore. Seriously though, it doesn't really matter what drove Magolor to Kirby. The point is, he wanted his help, not just to repair his ship, but to do what he could not, defeat Landia. Though, to be honest, Kirby didn't really need much convincing anyway. Even Magolor was taken aback by how quickly Kirby was willing to help.
I mean, Kirby is just the shape of friendship, alright? Kirby will help you regardless, because he's just that good of a boy, you know? He's just a good boy. Or, I guess to be more accurate, a good being? Like, we don't exactly know what Kirby is. There were the theories that Kirby is void and all that, but I don't think that's correct, judging from a lot of what you guys said in the comments. And something that I keep on forgetting is the fact that Kirby is pretty much a baby. So Kirby is pretty easily tricked, although, granted, there have only been a few people who have tricked him.
Unfortunately, even that clear display of selflessness wasn't enough to deter Magolor from his ultimate goal, one he confidently revealed upon Landia's defeat. Steal the Master Crown and become the ultimate ruler of the universe.
Yes!
Kirby sure didn't seem too concerned though. As shown in one pause screen description, that blank stare even annoyed him.
I hate having to rely on you and your vacant stare when I revealed my grand plan. It was truly insulting. Oh my god, Magolor. Kirby's just like, oh, now I gotta beat you up too. Well, I won't be attending your funeral. Call an ambulance, but not for me. I love Kirby's concept though, like, just so incredibly powerful, and yet all Kirby wants to do is eat Snackos and sleep under a tree.
We'll get back to that text later. For now, let's change gears and talk a little bit about the crown itself. While it may be true that it grants seemingly unlimited power, it comes at great cost. As stated in the fight against it, it also increases the darkness in the wielder's heart.
The door to darkness? I also find it incredibly funny that I think it was after Chain of Memories, we had never mentioned the fact that Riku could smell the darkness. That is like my favorite thing to reference ever.
Even worse, it seems that once the user wears the crown, they're really more of a host. Once that crown is set, they likely couldn't remove it if they wanted to. Why? Well, if you notice before the initial fight with Magolor, the crown moves. This isn't just some powerful object containing unlimited power. The Master Crown is alive. Even more,
latches onto
considering everything except
like
the claw moves when it's attached, it probably could be likened to a leech. This would even make sense considering Magolor Soul's True Arena description claims it can devour the soul, essentially removing the identity of the victim, becoming the ruler of all. Perhaps Landia wasn't only protecting the crown, but rather protecting those who may fall victim to its possessive power. Considering the Master Crown's Japanese description states it traveled many lands and worlds before these events, one can only imagine how many victims it took beforehand. This raises a question though. How was Landia able to overcome or even tap into its power to separate and merge itself? Well, Landia is known as a protector of ancient artifacts, yet despite being a straight-up guardian, one with much experience, according to its description, it still couldn't completely control its power. Knowing that, what chance could Magolor have?
Right? Magolor's just a scrub. Do we know of any other instance where this Master Crown has kind of been causing trouble. Like, I forget if we ever see mention of it in Forgotten Land or if that's connected to it in any way.
Magolor may have appeared to handle the power quite well at first glance. The reality was that he was essentially walking a tightrope. One small mishap, and it may very well be it for him. Unfortunately, there was going to be one very big mishap. According to Meteorz, that large hit from the Ultra Sword is what caused the crown to go haywire and almost completely consume him. Luckily, Kirby's unlimited power was able to overcome the crown's unlimited power, completely shatter it, and successfully free him from its grasp. Interesting
you better
note,
thank us.
According to this same Meteorz post, this ending was originally planned to be obtainable only after collecting all 120 energy spheres in Return to Dreamland.
Jeez.
For this reason, some concluded that the
all
scene
the
with
Korok
Magolor's
seeds.
soul in Deluxe's True Arena could have been the bad ending that was scrapped. While not 100% confirmed, it does make sense. The flashback we see in Magolor Epilogue shows the so-called good ending after fighting Magolor's soul. However, in the True Arena, he gets sent into another dimension with the crown still fully intact. Magolor's eyes being completely removed in Phase 2 of the fight also suggests the crown's complete control. We can hear Magolor pleading for help, and his description even asks Kirby to get the Horde thing off him. Sadly, in this case, it may have been too late. Thankfully, that's not the true ending. Speaking of true endings, considering the flashback in Magolor Epilogue shows Magolor's soul from EX mode specifically, that would mean that the final boss in EX mode is the canon final fight in the game.
Gotcha. But yeah, Kirby lore, it's always surprising how dark it can get. Obviously, unless if you're like really looking into the meaning behind things, it's not really gonna be that apparent to you, but the director of the game is really good at putting in all the subtext for us to discover.
This could suggest that while the extra modes may not be canon as a whole, at least some of the events that take place during them can be placed in the main game. Imagine it like the third version of a Pokemon game that takes elements from both of the older versions, adds in extra stuff, and gives you the full story. Granted, those haven't been a thing since Platinum, but still, regardless.
Gotcha. I don't know anything much about Pokemon. I only ever played Emerald, and that was kind of my game, though. I remember playing it on my Game Boy. I loved it. Haven't played any Pokemon ever since.
Up until a few months ago, aside from just randomly coming back reformed to make amusement parks, we didn't really know much else about Magolor. Sure, he appeared in Team Kirby Clash and was a dream friend in Star Allies, though in terms of canon, those appearances were questionable at best. Well, thanks to Magolor Epilogue and Merry Magoland, we at least know that his appearance in Team Kirby Clash was legit. Let's backtrack a bit though. As mentioned earlier, the epilogue takes place directly after Magolor's soul's defeat, after which he falls into what is called a dimensional abyss, losing all his powers. How? Well, when the crown shattered and freed him, the remains were scattered across dimensions along with his power. One could easily associate the place he fell to another well-known location, and honestly, when you read the Japanese text, it doesn't sound too far off. This text
Gotcha. Were you referring to something from the Super Mario? I think Super Paper Mario, that was? Don't know anything about that one. But I think one of the things you guys said sets Magolor apart from Marx is this redemption arc that Magolor does get to have. Whereas Marx is just Marx. Having his power taken away from him and having to go on this journey of, I guess, self-realization as well, to recollect all of his power does make for a good redemption arc. A good setup for it anyways.
touches on things like being here due to betraying his friends, betting on resurrection, and karmic retribution. The whole mode is even based on Magolor restoring and redeeming himself, building up to the moment he faces what got him into this mess from the start.
The Master Crown?
Well, aside from himself, which I guess could also be true. Throughout the epilogue, Magolor gathers fruit fragments, presumably to escape the horrid place. However, he wasn't the only one with that goal in mind. The fragments were guarded by elemental versions of bosses Magolor had Kirby face. According to their descriptions though, they were born from the elements in this dimensional abyss rather than just gaining the powers of them. All these manifestations, including the Doomers, were being guided by what it calls their boss, and they don't
Who is
mean
their
the
boss?
Grand Doomer.
The Master Crown?
No. While the Grand Doomer did attack the fruit initially, it was really being controlled by fragments of the true ruler, the Master Crown.
Yeah.
Perhaps the Master Crown even created those elementals using Magolor's memory from the time he was controlled.
Actually, yeah, that would make a whole lot of sense. Because if there was some sort of possession going on, then there's definitely a part of us that's still stuck with the Master Crown.
I mean, we've seen Dark Power create things from memory on multiple occasions. Regardless, once the fragments are freed from Grand Doomer's defeat, the shards envelop the fruit to become whole again. Thus, reborn anew with the power of the fruit, it would soon attempt to continue its reign of destruction.
Oh, that's why it's a tree? Oh my god, an apple tree? Or whatever that fruit was.
And to think, all of this could have been avoided if Magolor just maintained his friendship with Kirby and left Leandia alone.
Right.
Instead, Magolor experiences firsthand all the pain he caused the group over his own selfish desires. It really makes sense that when the battle comes to its end, he truly is atoning for his misdeeds. Also, cool to see where Magolor got his Ultra Sword ability and Star Allies from. What happens next is where things get even more interesting. Sure, he escapes and takes the fruit with him, but then he ends up in Team Kirby Clash? That's right, the Magolor from that game was the same one the entire time. He even quotes that infamous monologue if you collect all the gear. But wait, that's a different time and universe. If the portal sent him there, how did he get back? Well, we at least know the Lord Starcutter has the power to transverse space and time. Considering all the powers Magolor maxed out in the epilogue, the black holes, dimensional portals, and everything else without tapping into the power of the crown, traversing time without the Starcutter doesn't seem all that far-fetched. And even if he couldn't, we at least see him controlling the lore again in Dream Collection. For all we know, the lore could have even sensed his change of heart and tracked him down in the Dream Kingdom.
Actually, yeah, true. Because the ship itself was able to sense that, so there's some sort of sentience to it, right? But ultimately, I think it's just easier to say that Magolor has reached a power level where it's possible. Granted, it's not as powerful as Kirby, but still.
If so, that makes Magolor the second character that can enter any timeline he wants, whenever he wants. So really, just like Galactonite, those events could still be canon. To him. What though would make Magolor go from selling weapons to making amusement parks across the universe? Well, truth is, that was always his goal. He wanted to make
Screams
people
of
happy.
joy?
Why then betray Kirby for the Master Crown at all?
Right?
Hard to say. Maybe originally, he thought he could use its powers to help the world, rather than rule it.
Oh no, but if that's really the case, then, aw, man. Then why lie and why trick us? Is he just like the kind of guy who's like, whatever means is necessary for the good ending that I want? Like, it's okay to do. I don't know, I feel like the process is still kind of important, or rather very important, especially if your goal is to help people. Can't help others by screwing somebody else over. I guess it just goes back to the whole, like, the greatest evils start with good intentions.
I mean, considering how the text changes when Magolor wears the crown, similar to what we've seen with Haltman, it makes you wonder who was really talking in that monologue. Even still, why would someone, even with good intentions, attempt to defeat or even kill Landia just to get it? Well, remember Magolor said he was on Halcondra for a really long time. And in the epilogue, all the bosses were said to be controlled by their boss, the Master Crown. Perhaps over time, the crown would slowly join Magolor to obtain it at all costs and free it from one of the only ones capable of containing its power. Whatever the case may be, with all that business behind him, Magolor could finally begin what he originally set off to do and truly make others happy, with Merry Magoland being the ultimate fruits of his labor.
Nice.
How do we know that? Well, once every challenge is completed, including the 20 EX challenges, he states that it was always his dream to create the greatest theme park in the universe. To do so, he traveled to far-off worlds, including those in the past, to see what others enjoyed. Those travels likely include Dream Collection and DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe, and used the funds he obtained from the Dream Kingdom. If so, that means, in a way, me paying him $30 makes me a part of the canon too.
Yeah!
Either way, it's nice to know that after all that pain, Magolor is as happy as he can ever be, even if he is still a masterclass troll.
Well, there you go. There's the redemption arc. I'm still a bit hung up on it though, because I feel like it's a bit of a faulty plan, but you know, sometimes when you have a very clear goal in mind, you kind of become blindsided by all the other things where it could go wrong. You just can't see it, you know? So fair enough, Magolor.
Anyway, with that, we've talked about everything we needed to about Magolor. See you guys next time.
Oh, that was cute. All right, cool. But yeah, Magolor is not like Marks at all. I'm glad he was able to turn around though. He got his redemption arc and he was able to achieve his dreams. Hopefully now he won't attempt to trick anyone else anymore and do things on the straight and narrow, you know? But yeah, that's gonna be it from me today, my dudes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.